You might make sales, but you don't make money often with Black Friday because you're discounting all your money away. This made us money.
You see a lot of DTC brands, one of the reasons they die is they have inventory issues. We put this upsell on our second page at checkout. Well, initially, it served the purpose of excess inventory. So now, because of the success of it, we have to actually purchase more inventory just to fulfill this.
He told us, look, we need somebody to help us go e-commerce first with the biggest pop star in the world right now. We got nominated and won best homepage experience for the Webby. So that was
how you won your Webby.
Yeah, that was the first Webby.
Most brands are too focused on acquiring and going after new customers. In order to get $250,000 of new revenue from a customer, how much money and effort
you have
to
spend
to get that when it's already in your home base.
What are we doing later on, guys? We're going down to Hartford to go eat pizza.
New Haven.
That's right. We're gonna go try it in real person this time.
Real person.
Real person. In person. Real person.
Yeah. Real people.
In real.
Are we rolling right now? Oh, we're rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling, man.
Rock and rolling.
I'm kind of you guys excited for Commerce Roundtable in San Diego?
I am.
I'm very excited. We're about to do a live pod.
On stage.
500 people.
500 people.
What was it? $1,999.
Yeah, because one person I heard is attending only has one eye.
Yeah.
That's 999 eyeballs.
So still a lot of eyes.
It's a lot of eyeballs.
You know, statistically, out of 500 people, that's probably truthful at some level.
At least that, or maybe someone can't see out of one of their eyes.
Yeah.
I like
how many people, if you put 500 random people, no way they all have great eyesight out of both eyes.
I don't have great eyesight.
I have terrible.
Yeah, most people don't have good eyesight.
No, but what I mean by that is either born with one eye, lost an eye, shot an eye out, like simple stuff.
I hope right in front is a guy with eye patch.
There's gonna be. Yeah. There's
Just
gonna be a
for
guy
you.
with one eye.
And I can guarantee you there will be at least one person who has terrible hearing there too. And I'm talking about
you just
myself.
talking about yourself? Okay.
The prince has spoken. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the ASOM Pod, where we talk a lot. E-com is the path that we walk a lot. From 4 point of views when we're talking shop.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the ASOM Pod, a show by perspective in the eyes of an agency, SaaS operator, and a marketer focused on the D2C, e-commerce, and retail space. With over 55 years of combined business experience, founding over 12 different companies, we're excited to bring you this episode. Going on the room, I've got John Roman, Android-loving survival king. Then we've got Amer, formerly known as the Prince of Bosnia. And then we've got Bryan MacDonald, the self-proclaimed funniest dude on LinkedIn, our sponsor rapper, Anything But Salad on Instagram. And my name is Jimmy Kim. I'm the founder of Sendlane, email and digital marketer of over 15 years. And I'm excited to bring you guys all this podcast. And I want to go out and start off by giving everyone a shout out. First and foremost, where do we hang out? If you guys want to hang out with us, where do we hang out?
Creators Combine.
That's right. That's where the awesome community lives and can be found. Now available for founders and operators and agency SaaS operators and marketers like the ASOM Pod. Come check us out over there. Creators Combine. You'll see the descriptions in the show note. And then a special shout out to our two main sponsors. We've got number one, we've got Recharge. Second, we've got Gorgeous. Check them out and make sure you ask for an awesome deal because you heard their rap on the pod here by Bryan. There you go. All right.
That's me.
That's me.
And John and I both use, by the way, Gorgeous and Recharge and BattlBox and Oma's Pride.
Yeah, you know, it's not to derail, but I love, there's a difference between, I've talked about this a lot, vendors and partners. And Recharge and Gorgeous, talk about two partners.
Yeah, they're great partners to have. Great partners. We hope that we can continue to work with them. All right, guys, this is the idea I brought for this pod. I thought it was time to get a little more tactical because we've gone off into different worlds, and I think it'd be really fun to get down into it. But instead of just going down to a tactical thing, we're going to talk about weird things that no one cares about. Let's tell stories about our most successful launch that we've had. We've talked about war stories. We've talked about failures. We haven't also talked about success. And one thing I've learned a long time ago was that you got to be celebrating your successes as much as you're celebrating your failures because those are the things we go around. So we're going to go around the room. And in this kind of longer segment, what I did was I told everybody, I gave them 5 points. So I'm going to set the stage so everyone can see it. What was it about? How did you approach it? What was the goal and outcome of the story? And what were 3 lessons that you did when you learned from that launch? Because we're always learning. And what would you do differently? And if you did it differently already, let's talk about that too. So who wants to go first? Who wants to jump in here?
Oh, I guess I'll go first. Just because I love talking, right?
Yes, you love talking.
Yeah. So anyways, I was at a company called Target Sports USA for years, running their marketing team.
What was Target Sports USA?
And Target Sports USA was a direct-to-consumer EMO company. So we primarily sold 90% of our SKUs were EMO, and then we had some, accessories and tchotchke stuff, I call it. But for the most part, we were a 9-figure direct-to-consumer ammo brand, one of the biggest in the United States. And my last year there, I was approached by someone who was a serial entrepreneur, and he saw the opportunity. Now, this was during COVID, right? So now you had the massive spike in direct-to-consumer, especially ammo companies, and the margins were through the roof. And a lot of people from the outside looking in were saying, I'll do this. This seems like a great opportunity to make some money. So I was approached, presented with an offer that I could not resist. So I essentially helped him found his own version of Target Sports USA from the ground up. So this conversation happened with him and I meeting multiple times at a coffee shop, and then literally started this company from Starbucks. So everything from finding real estate, right? So we went through the real estate process where we had to find our fulfillment center. We went through my connections that he leveraged that I had in the ammo space, where we were able to get manufacturer contracts in order to procure ammo. And this was also a time when Biden, there was rumors that he was going to be shutting down importation in Russia, from Russia. And there was a huge opportunity to try to grab some rifle steel case ammo, which was 7.62 by 39. So I procured a ton of that stuff from contracts, right? So we had the building, we started getting ammo in. It was just him and I, and we didn't hire anyone at this point. We're literally just setting up the foundation. So I went through that entire process with him. And then along with Amer and I were talking about it yesterday, actually a little bit, how hard it is to truly operate a business in the ammo space online because of all the regulations that are set in place. So now I'm working with spending weeks and weeks with a developer that we hired. If you live in Chicago, you can't get ammo delivered to your door. If you live the county over, you can. If you live 2 counties away, you can get it shipped, not to your home, but you can get it shipped to an FFL dealer. Now you're working with uploading permits online along with your license verification systems. So there's a lot of things that you need to set up in place, not only with your fulfillment and your product, but also with the shipping rules and then the laws and regulations behind it. So all of that took a long time to set up. And then I went out and hired a couple veterans to work our customer service department. And then from there, we hired warehouse workers. Next thing you know, the site was ready, foundation was set up, and we started selling. First 6 months were unbelievable. We did almost $5 million in the first 6 months with 3 employees.
Wow.
Now, after that though, right? What do we do? Well, we ran out of ammo. Oof. Okay. Not all of it, but for the most part, right? 9mm was selling 45, 223, 5.56, all the popular pistol and rifle rounds. Well, now it's at the point where, okay, he took advantage of the market. We got in at the tail end of COVID. Ammo manufacturers, hey, we're not going to be able to get you that product for 6 months, could be 12 months, could be 24 months. We have a long list of our vendors that need the product, and we can't keep up with the demand. So demand was so high that even these massive ammo companies, because remember, that market is really dominated by, I would say 7, possibly 8 if you count someone overseas, but really 7 folks in the US that control the entire market. They couldn't keep up with the demand. So now we're sitting back like, okay, well, we don't really have the product at the margins that we got it for. So we were making, 70, 80, 90, 100% margins depending on the SKU. Now we don't have the product to sell. So now it's like, okay, well, now we're on this wait list. When we're able to procure ammo again, right, a year into this new venture that I helped start, the product that we're able to get, we weren't able to make as much margin on it, but we were still able to sell it. So he had this other company, I think I mentioned you at the time, Tactical USA, which is like, I call it like a drop shipping tactical website, right? It's almost like a crappier version than 511. And at that time, in order to bring more money in, what we did is we essentially got rid of his 2 3PLs that he had in the United States. We moved all the product to our facility, right? Because we weren't as busy. We didn't have the ammo that we had when we started. And we used that as a profit center for us because we saved almost 40% on every shipment coming from that 3PL to our own facility. So now we're shipping his drop shipping products from our facility. And then it's at that time when I started, which is actually pretty cool. I actually haven't showed you this before, but I started a knife subscription company inside of Pro Armory, which is the company that I helped start. So the ammo company. So I saw the demographic. I was like, hey, we can't just keep chugging along here. We got to come up with some sort of reoccurring revenue stream during all this. So I started a knife subscription company that took a few months to build out. Wasn't too bad, but essentially what it was Knives of War, I called it. It was a different knife used in different wars with stories behind the knife. So like talk about how many people that the knife killed, right? Like people love that shit, right? What battle it was used in, who it was used by. And the box would come with the knife itself. It would come with stickers that coincided with that war or that knife. And then your similar to like what BattlBox does, like a story card behind it. And we sold 2,300 of those in just under a year. So we had 2,300 subscription customers that were just getting a knife. Now, granted, these were $49.95 memberships at box and product cost at like $24, $25. So it wasn't like crazy. And then obviously shipping, but it wasn't a crazy margin. But what it did is allowed us to bring in cash flow and then open up for when more ammo came into play. So it was cool to sit back and look at those like first 24 months of, I was just really running the entire marketing department at Target Sports, transferring everything that I learned over from there. And then the biggest takeaways for me was really learning how important relationships are. Because if I went over to help him start Pro Armory up from the ground up, and I wasn't the type of marketer and person that I was at Target Sports, I wouldn't have those relationships where I can give Tony, John, and Eric a call and be like, hey, like I'm starting this new company, really love to get some product in. They would just tell me to choose screw. So like that was one huge takeaway that I had, was how important relationships are when you're running a product-based business, because procuring product, especially at the cost that you want to procure it from, require these like deep, heavily involved relationships. And then the second thing was, you know, really not putting all your eggs in one basket in regards to this is going to be an ammo company. Well, now we saw unprecedented times with COVID. That's when we sort of had to pivot to a degree and bringing in like a knife subscription where we had revenue coming in. So having a pivot point that I was still able to go after the same demographic of customer and not rely on the ammo market, but I was still able to capture revenue from that same customer. So that was like a huge, another like light bulb, like big, probably the second big takeaway that I had from that. And then the third was really studying and learning. At this time, Black Rifle Coffee was starting to take off, and their whole thing, like we mentioned before, was hiring veterans. So I was like, well, no one in the tactical space is really, I mean, Black Rifle Coffee, it's coffee. I'm like, how is no one in the gun and ammo space hiring veterans to work customer service? Like imagine calling in as an ammo consumer and having a question about this ammo going in this gun, and then it's a guy that's like fought in 4 wars, like answering the call. Like that's cool. So that's what we did. We hired 3 folks right away to work the phones, all veterans. And that was a cool takeaway, where it's like, how do you provide a customer experience and service that aligns with your customer, so that way your customer feels they're calling their buddy, they're calling one of their friends versus calling a customer service rep. I would say like those were like the 3 big takeaways and wins. And for someone that the only other company I started in the past was a wedding photography company, a little bit different, a lot of logistics and laws and regulations behind ammo, probably in my eyes, one of the hardest businesses to start from the ground up due to all of that. And to do that during unprecedented times during COVID was definitely a huge win in regards to like what I'm proud of.
So you like working in hard, difficult spaces, I've decided.
Yeah.
The ammos, I mean, raw pet food company, which is a very high premium product.
Yeah.
Photography, a very competitive marketplace.
Yeah.
Can you, with ammo, you can't advertise on any of the
Yeah, so you can't no paid ads on Google, Meta, nothing, right? So it's a lot of, there's actually a company called AmmoSeek. AmmoSeek.com. It's literally like picture like a Facebook marketplace to a degree for ammo, and it's all listed by price per round. So it's all filtered through cheapest to most expensive, and you can advertise on there. And that's like the most #1 traffic driven ammo.
They get a lot of traffic too.
A lot of traffic, and they charge a ton of money to be on the platform. And also, right, if you want to increase your search presence or you want to get a banner on their homepage, like they have a ton of money coming in for, if you go on the website, you're like, is this thing built in 1880? It's brutal. But there's different marketplaces like that where you can throw ad dollars behind.
Okay.
But traditional marketing, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Sad is dedicated to all the brands out there who are struggling with subscriptions. To the people out there with churn rates higher than their mortgage. Y'all called the police on us when we were just trying to get you on recharge. And now look where you are. You know what I'm saying? It's all good, baby, baby. It was all a dream. Welcome to the recharge scene. Retention just double, celebrate with your team. So watch your churn go down. Every single day we said that recharge will turn you around. There's 20,000 brands that they serve. If your first name is J, they'll make your last name Curve. Trusted, robust, and dynamic. They'll make you money while you're laying in the hammock. Just kidding. I wish that was how life was.
I also think this is a perfect example of like Bryan, like why people go out and find people who have done and worked in a certain space when you're hiring people, people, because if you didn't work at Target Sport USA and went to the next place, you wouldn't have been able to understand the demographic, the market, the connections, and network, everything that you had that allowed you to accelerate much faster. And as founders, often like we look for people that, I know we like to go hire different people, but honestly, like there's always an excitement of like industry people. I know Amer looks in the ecosystem, for example, for that reason, is because the learning curve of not making those mistakes that normally it would make sense to go think about, you don't have to go trip over those because you've had a successful run somewhere
And
else.
here's my beautiful thing with Bryan articulated beautifully, actually, too. It's like a wonderful playbook. I'm like, okay, I got to step my answer up a little bit shortly. Like, very well done. But the second part is experience versus education.
Yep.
You can go to best school. You can go pay all you want for professors and everything. But what he just described, you cannot buy. You have to go through that experience, meet those people, establish those connections, go through the process of failing to come to a point to have an incredibly successful story as that.
Yeah. Let's see. How much college debt was 220 grand for PE. I was a gym teacher.
But I could imagine you yelling at kids right now.
Yeah, dude.
I can see you being a good PE teacher.
Yeah.
And health and phys ed. Yeah. So money down the drain.
No, I mean, I
That was a great experience.
Well, you're a chef, that has something to do with health.
Yeah.
But I don't think that came from PE.
No, he didn't.
So
Definitely not.
Don't defend at school. I can't defend it either. All right, I'm going to jump into the next one, and I'll tell us a little story because I think it's a little different, but it's also in line, and we'll hear the similarities there. But, one of the things that I owned was in the past was a men's streetwear clothing company. Well, it was more of a streetwear company that became men's. We started off as a retailer, and the story is, and I think I've told you all that, the story is I gave him a loan because he had a PO, and I gave him a loan, and when I walked into the store to kind of go back, and this was a physical store, and I walked in to say, hey, how are you going to pay me back on this PO now that you've sold this new little line that you have? He showed me the line, and I asked him, how are you doing online? And well, he didn't have an online presence. So that's when I joined the company, and we launched the online channel, and we went through it. So talking about all that, it led me to a story that I remember, one of the most successful accidental launches, I call it. And I think I learned a lot from this, was launching a brand new product on Black Friday and Cyber Monday at full retail price. Okay. So let me tell you how the story happened. Basically, we're a clothing apparel company. That means that you're doing seasonal drops of clothes because every season, fall, springs, whatever it was. And this time we had this drop that was scheduled for October. It was going to be this beautiful line. It was actually our first collection that we did. Until then, we had drops every Friday. That was our model. And then one day we said, hey, we're going to go do this big collection. This is 2015. And so we put that thing in, we ordered it, but manufacturing dropped the ball on us. They weren't able to get it. It was all cut and sew. So that means that someone was hand sewing or putting it together. Yeah. And the product didn't show up. And in fact, the product showed up 1 week before Black Friday and Cyber Monday of 2015. So now we're in panic here because we had invested a crap ton of money into this line because it was our first collection that we're going to release into the market. And we're in full panic, and we were just a week away. And so we made a decision. We said, and this is back in 2015 when like retail and Cyber Monday and Black Friday were still separated. It wasn't this big weird blur. So Black Friday was for retail and Cyber Monday was for online. And we've only been online for about 2 years now at this point. And so we were like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do our Black Friday sale like we normally do, and 30% off everything. And then we said, we're going to go crazy on Cyber Monday. And what we're going to do is we're going to launch this new product, and we're going to do it with a pre-launch. So on Black Friday, we did our normal thing, but on Saturday, we flipped into another marketing campaign. And we, instead of promoting Cyber Monday, we promoted the new product. And then we put a little blurb saying, oh, and everything else will be like 10% or 20% off or whatever it is. And we did that. And we even told them that we're going to launch it at midnight on Cyber Monday. And the collection was hoodie, 2 shirts, and a pair of pants, I think, if I remember. And the results were crazy, man. We sold out in minutes, all online. And in fact, we even saved some for retail, which was really interesting. And no one really came in looking for it on retail. And we ended up just selling them online anyways, because no one was showing up for retail, because the consumer had been trained that retail was on Friday, Cyber Monday was on Monday, right? And so we sold out, and then we restocked like 2 weeks later because we had our next shipment show up because we only had received half the shipment, and we sold that out in just minutes by sending a couple emails and literally teasing them. And I think one of the stories that I think was really important here is we did a really good job pre-launching it. And I know you do a good job over at OMA's. I've seen you like pre-launch and get people ready. But I think a lesson that people aren't learning fast enough right now is that if you are doing a product launch, you can't just launch it. You need to go tease it and introduce it and get the hype going behind it and then go from there, right? And that's what I go. And so there was 3 lessons I learned when I came through that experience. Number 1, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, consumerism at its highest, and it'll probably be the day with the most views on your website. What I mean by that is people are out there shopping actively. Your most loyal customers are probably coming back and stopping by to check on your website to see if you're doing, or what you're selling, what you're offering. And the second thing is people buy for others during that time, but they also shop at brands that they like for themselves, right? There's a personal preference. I like this brand. My friend Amer might like this brand. I'm going to go shop for him over there, right? And so you're selling something new here, and there's a wallet share that's part of it. What I thought was really interesting is at the same time, while we are all ambitiously trying to shop for other people, we all selfishly like to shop for ourselves too. And what we did what we noticed about the sale, which was really interesting, was no one bought that shit for gifts. They all bought it for themselves. They knew that they'd done their shopping on Black Friday, and on Monday, they're going to get something for themselves because they've been working for it. So we thought that was really interesting. And then, of course, the last one was the pre-launch and teaser. It's very important. I think people aren't doing enough of it. And then, when I think about it, and we said, all right, once that happened in 2015, we turned it around in 2016 and said, well, what can we do to make it even better? To make it even stronger and do better. So in 2016, we said, let's learn from what we did in 2015 and go after in 2016. And here's the 3 things we did. 1, we launched it on Black Friday this time, thinking, hey, you know what? If we knew that Cyber Monday was so huge, maybe we didn't take advantage of Black Friday's traffic, in-store traffic, and launched that new product only exclusively in retail on Black Friday, in-store only. And we sold out of that too. And then we launched it again and saved it on Cyber Monday and did that again. So we learned that lesson. The number 2 thing that was really cool that we figured out, and we were in apparel, right? So we were selling fits or bundles. And we didn't just sell bundles of what we were selling new. We took clothing that we had. We used to sell men's basics like the one I'm wearing right now. Yeah. So we'd layer the basic on with the shirt, with the hoodie, with the hat. And we created this like bundled package selling non-launch products at full price or bundled in a price that they couldn't really see, and adding more product into the market, which increased the AOV that we created. And the third thing we did was we added more products. We realized that we had 3 products in that collection, and we were still pretty new to launching collections. We ended up adding another hat, another 2 shirts. And we launched more this year because we said, hey, if we launch more products, will people buy more? And the answer was yes, they did. Yeah. And they absolutely did buy more of those products. So that was the lesson. I think the biggest thing that I continue to take away is that consumerism is at a all-time high on the Black Friday, Cyber Monday time. And people are visiting your eyes, and it's the most website traffic you'll get. Launching a new product at full retail fixes the one weird problem that Black Friday, Cyber Monday pose for most brands, which is you don't actually make any money. You might make sales, but you don't make money often with Black Friday because you're discounting all your money away. This made us money. And that was our biggest lesson. And I tell brands even today, and I know there's plenty of people who do no sales for Black Friday. There's different things that happen that I've seen in the market, but like launching a new product is a great way to maximize your website traffic. So that was our most successful launch that I think about when it comes to the brand and retail side that I thought would be like really helpful for the listeners here.
Yeah. That was 2015?
That was 2015 into 2016, right? So yeah, this is back when people still stood in line in retail and they stood outside and they're waiting to come in to buy your stuff. And you would set out a table and dump all your shit that you had and put it as most reduced as you can just to get rid of it as fast as possible. And the thing I learned watching people in retail, which was really funny, they look at shirts and they're like, yeah, my buddy John will like this. They don't really care. They're just filling and checking the bucket off. But when you look at them, looking at them for themselves, they like inspect it, they look at it, they put it on. It's such a different mindset of gifting versus buying for yourself.
Man, I think I'm the opposite though.
Really?
Like when I'm buying for someone else,
You trying your dad's shirts?
That was your takeaway?
That was his takeaway.
No, but I mean like it's non-efficient how much time and thought I put into gifts. Because I'm like, they won't like that. I don't know.
You're very thoughtful is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
I like that. John's pumping himself up.
Yeah.
All right.
That's cool.
Well, that was my story of my most successful launch. Who wants to go next? You want to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
So
I really wanted to go. I'm kidding.
So this is a really cool one. So this was 4 years ago. It's still around. So since launch, almost 4 years, we've generated about $2.2 million from it. So what it is we wanted to do a couple of things. One, we wanted to raise our average order value, our AOV, And we also, you see a lot of DTC brands, one of the reasons they die is they have inventory issues. And we wanted to come up with a solution that could accomplish both of those. And I'm talking to a good friend, Chris George, Sub Summit. You guys all know him.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, he just calls me out of the blue. And he's like, hey, they used to have a brand they sold it called Gentleman's Box. And they're like, we put this mystery box upsell on our second page at checkout. And we're getting like a really good take rate on it. Like, you should try it out. And I'm like, give it a shot. This actually accomplishes and checks both of these boxes. So we can use excess inventory for this mystery box. And it's going to, if people take it, it's going to raise the AOV. Now, we didn't expect the results we got, but 30 minutes worth of dev work to put this in there. Not a lot of work, right?
It was about a couple hours.
Yeah, a couple hours.
Easy peasy. It's just code.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
Code.
Copy paste an image. Yeah.
Easy.
Copy paste, drop it in there.
Yeah. So then developers did their thing. And the reality though is, so we started off and we had it at $39.99, so $40. And we were seeing about a 40% take rate. So this is only showing the new members signing up for one of the 4 tiers, but a 40% take rate, which is wild. And then we said, okay, well, let's up it to 50. 40% take rate stayed. There was no degradation in take rate. So we upped it to 60. 60, we saw some degradation. We're about 32% take rate. That's where it's at today. Do the quick math. It still makes sense to keep it at the 60 though, because the 32% is still, the math's there. So you start running the numbers on that though, and it's insane.
Is that a one-time mystery box?
It's a one-time mystery box.
Okay, they don't get it monthly.
No. So they're signing up for the monthly box, the monthly membership. And regardless of the tier, if you're signing up for one of the memberships and it's your first time signing up, we present you with the option to add this check the little box, add the little mystery box.
Is it a mystery box for no matter what tier they select, or is it curated for the tier?
So we've actually played around with both. Right now, it's what we found works. It's just a one size fit all.
Gotcha.
So it's $60 and it's, I think, $90 to $120 worth of gear.
If I remember, this is on the cart, or is it after you make a purchase?
It's on the cart.
Okay.
So
have you
it's-
tested it after you make a purchase instead?
Yeah, so we have. It doesn't perform as well. We have found though, adding heavily discounted one-time items, like single items, does work best for us.
Of course, upsells.
Post-purchase, yeah. So, it's wild. It's millions of dollars that
Yeah,
it's
it's
generated.
crazy.
Initially it served the purpose of excess inventory. That's not a thing anymore. So now we have to, because of the success of it, we have to actually purchase
More inventory.
and more inventory just to fulfill this. But it made us realize this mystery box aspect of the business. And, ultimately our box is a mystery box. We just don't call it that. But then positioning a mystery box as an additional. So taking it a step further and following a lot of the guidance you gave a second ago. So now 2 to 3 times a year, we do ultra premium mystery boxes. And we typically have 4 tiers, 250, 150, 250, 500, and 1,000. Our most expensive monthly box is 170 plus tax shipping, call it 200. So the vast majority of these are much higher than our average box value and box price. So we do exactly that. We tease them. So it's very limited amounts. We'll start typically, I think we're actually launching at the end of this week. So today we're sending out emails. We've created the PDPs. They're on the site. They're live. They're marked as sold out. And we have tech where they can opt in. So we'll let them know by newsletter, but with this opt-in, email me when available, we'll give them the moment that it becomes available and that inventory gets pushed live, they'll get that notification. So we're sharing that with our members and our community. We're sharing it with them first.
You're creating a line of people who are ready to buy, basically.
And because of that, because of doing that, creating that line, it'll go live. We'll give them some time to make their purchases first because it truly is limited amounts. And then we'll open up to the masses afterwards. But the last 2 times we ran it, we weren't able to open up to the masses. It sold out prior.
That's awesome.
But it's following that. It's creating a line, a digital line. And it's each of those pops is, I think this one, they average, depending on quantity, it's typically about $250,000 worth of revenue. That is a
Flip of the switch.
That's actually really brilliant, man. Like adding that opt-in, and I know it's not new to do something like this, but I don't think enough brands do this where they're pre-launching and then creating an interest line almost of people who are ready to purchase, because then you get early access. I mean, it's like the VIP kind of program, but it truly will gauge how well the product will sell ultimately. If you launch this thing and you get 10 people to opt in, you're probably not going to do very well in that mystery box. And if you got thousands of people, there's high interest behind it. And it's almost a good way to test a marketing campaign and say, I'm going to do this and see what you're going to do. Like if you did it at your Almost Pride and you launch like a new protein, for example, I don't know what protein you haven't launched, but like, let's just say you teased it and say, get on the list to pre-order this, and you put it out there and you get like 3 people, then you know that you probably can just sunset and disappear, right? Yeah. Versus if you get thousands, you're like, oh shit, we better go build it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There almost is like a way to validate product market fit of a product or a line.
And it's also given us that data. So, you know, when we did it the first time a few years ago, not the in-cart mystery box, but the one-time launch of mystery boxes, the premium ones. When we did it the first time, I think we did $2,000 boxes because we were like, no one's actually going to buy this. And what we quickly found out is we were wrong on that. So I think this go around, we're doing 20 or 25 of them, but they will sell out. That's the right amount. The data suggests that those will sell out likely before even opening it up to the public.
What I find it when I talk to brands, I mean, take this example, a few hours of dev work.
30 minutes.
30 minutes of that work, 30 minutes of that work, and it creates such a substantial impact. And also what you're talking about, Jimmy, about doing these pre-campaigns and everything, but every time I talk to brands, they either overcomplicate it to the point they're scared to do it, and it's just like, keep it simple. Like if it doesn't work, people are not going to bash you and say, oh my God, you ruined my experience. Like, no, what's going to ruin the experience is shipping or damaged goods or a poor product. But if you have a good product, you care about the customer and you can support it, it's simple. Keep it simple, validate it, and then scale it.
Yeah.
It's quick and
you
easy.
You could be honest about, we're thinking about it. Would you opt in to tell us that you want it? I mean, there's a lot of ways to go validate that.
Yeah.
So
it also goes back to, it's so simple, but most brands are too focused on acquiring and going after new customers instead of like that, say $250,000.
Yeah, maximizing LTV.
What that would, in order to get $250,000 of new revenue from a customer, how much money and effort
would you have to spend
to get that when it's already in your home base?
Talk about 30 minutes of work. We work with a brand and their subscription as well. And by removing one step in their sign-up process, and they've had this for years, took us literally 30 minutes to do, bumped their conversion by 30%.
That's a nasty number.
Nasty number.
30% a lot. What did you put? What did you want? Their mother's maiden name? What was the friction point?
No, it's
Social Security.
They went basically with their subscriptions because they also offer gift products, and we implemented a solution where people can choose on the homepage where they were driving traffic. So they were going from homepage to PDP to checkout. We segmented on the homepage and how people can order a gift instead. And those people that don't want gifts, we took them straight to the checkout because they don't need to see the information.
You eliminated a upsell page, basically.
There's like no. And if somebody wants a gift, just give them an option on the homepage to go in the gift funnel and not for both.
Were you able to actually test that, or did you have to switch?
It was a split test. It was an A/B test.
Ooh, very demure.
Yeah.
Very demure. So mindful.
It was very mindful.
Yeah.
I had to Google that when you guys texted.
Well, that's the popular word on right now because I'm still on the hill that AI gave someone a script, and that's why it's like become popular. Because, you know, every time I run an AI script, it uses the word delve, DELVE.
Okay.
Right? It always tells me that. I'm like, that's not even a real word that anyone knows.
But now demure is
now one of the popular words. And by the time this pod comes out, it'll probably be.
Yeah, people were going to be listening they were like,
it's going to be pretty popular or worn out
a month
by
ago.
this. So a month ago, old people.
It's old people.
Amer, we're going to jump to you with your story, man. Tell us about, and it doesn't always have to be about you. It could be about, I know you work with some really famous clients sometimes.
BattlBox.
Like John Roman.
I'm just going to piggyback on his story.
But he's just going to piggyback.
You did the work, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you already told a cool story about removing friction, but tell us yours, man.
So this is a cool story because we obviously don't create products in a sense of items and things like that, but we're part of marketing activations, product activations, so on and so forth. A few years back, we got lucky to be introduced to a company that's a fragrance manufacturer, and we have a beautiful relationship with them right now called Parlux. So they basically manage fragrance creation for a ton of celebrities. And they approached us and we started talking, and my point of contact over there was Bryan. And Bryan is a phenomenal guy, super smart, marketing wise and everything. And when we first engaged with them, he told us, look, we need somebody to help us go e-commerce first with a celebrity line. And they've never sold on e-com before or done this with a celebrity.
Oh, so it was all celebrity, but retail.
Yeah. Wow. But they would go to like Ultas of the world, so on and so forth. And I had no idea who it was. And as we're like talking price and everything. We're trying to figure everything out. He's like, it's the biggest pop star in the world right now. I'm like, who the hell? Like, and I've heard that story before. People put a carrot in front of you and you kind of wonder who it is. And finally, he reveals it to us after we signed MNDAs and he committed to us. And he said, Billie Eilish. And this is like when she came out, it was like, I mean, she was
top of her game.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like you take a deep breath. It's like there's a lot that goes into this. And one of the big things that went into this that was a challenge, you cannot leak anything. I mean, not an image, not a picture, and not a word around it. So like one of the first things I had to do with my team is like, this is the process. We're going to have this on lockdown like crazy.
Hey, how's it going? How can I help? I have the platform to handle any problem you dealt. Thank you for that. Yeah, but where is my belt? It was order 113 if I remembered it well. Hold on 1 second. Let me see what I can do. It looks like end of day today is when your package is due. Thank you so much. Wow, you did that so fast. Wait, aren't you the only one you guys have on staff? Yeah, I am, but this helps in enormous ways. We appreciate your business. Have a gorgeous day.
So we went through the process, and now think about this is that they at this point haven't launched anything in e-commerce, and it's a big learning experience for them. On top of this, they also selected another agency to work with us on some design concept and everything, and this was an agency that was in Europe. So one of the first things is we went through this, we had a strict timeline because PR initiatives and everything was lined up around the launch. So you cannot be late. This is not like, oh, we'll just launch next week.
Was it a realistic time frame?
It was a very realistic time frame. Now, one of the things, and I'll kind of get to it too, there was a really cool component about this website. It had an immersive experience that it was basically a bottle that you could spin around on your screen, and you spin around it, it would load different types of navigation and take you through the experience of the bottle, of the notes and everything like that. So that was a little bit of a newer thing to us, and it's definitely not a typical e-com or web experience. In my mind, from a revenue standpoint, had to get over the fact is like, okay, if we're going to do this, it is not the best conversion thing that you would do for any other brand, but the fans that she has and
the conversion
it doesn't matter. But we just had to make sure that it translated into mobile very efficiently. There was no friction points, and we were able to achieve that. But as this company actually worked on the 3D model of the bottle and we had to implement it, they started to get delayed. And
they were delayed.
Yeah, they're starting to delay it. And I went to Bryan a couple of times, like, Bryan, like, we got to push. And one of the reasons they delayed it is we were working over this project over the summer, a European company. So when people go on vacations, they go on vacations. And holiday, yes. It's a holiday for sure. And they kept kind of passing the project to different points of contact, designers, and I give them credit. They were pushing and they were working hard. We weren't getting where we needed to be.
Sounds like they were hardly working.
Potentially. And when we got everything that we needed, it really puts us in a position where we literally had about 3 weeks to finish everything. And it was a lot of pressure. And with Bryan and his team, this being their first launch, it was like, oh my God, like, are we going to be able to do this? Quite frankly, there was a couple of times that in my head, I was like, how are we going to pull this off? And then the third one is, we got drop dates. Like, this has to go. It has to happen. We cannot miss out. It was all pre-Black Friday pretty much. So anyway, we were able to get all the files for them. My team was already working on things that we control. We put it together, QA'd, and everything was fine. And we felt really good going into it. And then leading up to the launch, which I don't know how we could have controlled or anything. There was like a huge fan page on Instagram that somehow found out that there's going to be a Billie Eilish perfume drop. And it just kind of spread over the internet. So now, not only were we dealing with like, they know what's coming, we have to launch it and this has to be perfect.
So was that not that wasn't part of their plan? They didn't leak it?
No, I don't think.
It was a legitimate leak.
I think it was a legitimate leak. I mean, there was some like teasing that was being done that there's going to be a new announcement, a new drop. So everybody was like guessing all over. Somehow somebody figured it out. I have no idea, beyond my pay grade, I guess. And we went into the launch. And then one of the other challenges that we had is we wanted to limit basically one perfume per order and make sure that people are gamifying it, taking it, maybe selling on eBay, resales and all of that, because we weren't sure how big this was going to be. It was like a first big launch. The cool part is Shopify has a bot protector that basically when you get a ton of traffic, they put in a queue to make sure everybody's getting hit. And then we put some mechanisms from our end to block additional add to carts. If somebody tries to gamify everything, we'll be basically checking the cart in the checkout to see if somebody's trying to add an extra bottle or something like that. And it was like really cool. So there was a ton of people, Lori, who's their CEO, all of the supporting cast, we were all on a Zoom call, Google Meets call rather, before the launch or before, their jitters are all over the place. All the PR are going to get released, and we opened the floodgates. Shopify has a really cool dashboard which shows you where all the traffic is coming from and everything.
Live. Yeah,
and at that point, they could only support a USA drop. So we saw traffic from England, from Europe, from Australia.
And they couldn't buy.
They couldn't buy it, unfortunately. But the cool part was we ended up selling everything within that day.
I was going to say, you guys sold out fast.
Yeah, we sold out fast. It was gone, and it was just like, how do we get more inventory?
I was going to buy a bunch and then try to sell them. And I couldn't. I missed it.
I could have hooked you up.
I'm just kidding.
That story is very much like, we supported Kanye West, Easy.com earlier this year when we launched. A lot of the story that you relate reminds me of watching them behind the scenes. I mean, I'm just the email SMS provider here in this situation, but we got to see a lot of the glimpses of stuff, and we got to see highly sensitive things. Like we saw the commercial before it came out, and they're like, if you say this, Kanye will diss you online. And I was like, that might not be a bad idea, but no, the real reality is out of obviously client work and stuff, but you're right. The demand, and then they also had the leak problem occur too on theirs. Yeah. Someone picked it up. Dude, they did 7 or 10. I don't know what the exact number was, but before the ad dropped, they did $7 to $10 million because of the leak that everybody had, and there was like a viralness that started to occur real fast.
And one of the reasons I'm sharing this story is I was really involved with this, given the sensitivity. But I had so many amazing people from my team: Carrie, Tammy, Viba, the dev team. Some of the things they pulled off, and the things that we got rewarded on top of this. For me, when I was younger, I always wanted to work for Ogilvy or Leo Burnett. And one of the reasons is because they always used to pick up Webby Awards and all of that stuff. So I didn't have much to do with design development. It was just more about we got to deliver and we got to make sure we live up to our expectations. And the team, with everything and the hard work that they did, working with Lori, Brian, Dora, and the team at Parlux, we got nominated and won Best Homepage Experience for the Webby. So
that's
that was
how you won your Webby.
Yeah, that was the first Webby.
Cool. That is his Webby
for us. So not on top of that we only pull off this sellout and this great experience, but we were able to do it at an extremely high standard, given all the challenges
and recognized for it.
Get recognized for it. And the biggest reason for it, one amazing team and everything that my team has done, but having partners like Parlux trust us in the process, lean on it. There was a lot of pressure on them, of course, to deliver this for their first release, that they could then go to other celebrities and say, hey, look, we did it with Billie. We can do it with everybody else. And to have a partner like that is just a blessing.
That's awesome.
No, that's a great story, man. That's a huge story. And obviously that's why you're so proud of it, is because it also won you a Webby. It was a big deal. Well, I think that when you hear stories like this, it reminds me of the 1992 Olympic Dream Team. You can say that's the story that even in this 2024 Olympic that just happened recently in Paris, people still brought it up. The Dream Team.
Still
right?
referenced.
It's that feel good, right? Just a feel good movie, like The Sandlot, for example, that he's wearing a Sandlot shirt right now that he has. And by the way,
where'd you get that?
Oh, go ahead. Where'd you get that?
What? The Sandlot? Oh, Tamu.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Well, that's interesting, because I think we're going to be talking about them soon.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about
Next
this a little bit more.
Baby.
This is great. He's already laced up and ready. But listen, winning stories are not only memorable, but they teach you a lot of things that you can apply into your business, but also hopefully hearing it from our side allows you as a listener to hopefully take this information and apply it into your business as well. With that, that's a wrap for episode 15, guys. It was a breakdown of our most successful launches. I think we've had some really interesting little stories to share there. And again, as I said, we hope that you took something away from here, maybe one little snippet. That's all we always tried to deliver. One little snippet that helped you unlock something, maybe an upsell, maybe, approaching a different market, different things can come up from the things that we kind of shared here today. Yeah. But that's a wrap. I want you to make sure that you are commenting, subscribing, telling a friend. And also, if If you have a topic that you want us to talk about, let one of us know. We're all available on social media. In fact, you can find us or any of us on social media on X, TikTok, IG, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're everywhere. You can type in ASOM, ASOM. And don't forget to leave us a review rating on your favorite podcast streaming, whatever that may be, Apple, Spotify, etc. And remember, we are a video first podcast, just like you can see Bryan wearing his Temu shirt here. We fly to different locations to shoot this dynamic pod, and we want to do it for the highest quality experience. And special thanks to our sponsors, guys, Recharge and Gorgeous. Big shout out to both of them for sponsoring him. We hope you enjoyed the wrap throughout the pod episode. And as we kind of teased already, the next episode, we're diving into TikTok Shop, Temu, Alibaba, Shein, eBay, Amazon China. We're going to talk a little bit about everything, and it's not going to be talking about the quality of the product as much as we're going to be talking about, is it really what consumers want? And if you think about reason why, depending on when you're listening to this pod, but why Walmart stock is up, Dollar General stock is up, Dollar Storage stock is up, their stocks are up this year tremendously compared to a lot of people. There's definitely a shift in mindset going on, and it could be inflation, it could be recessionary. I don't know. We're going to dive into that topic. We're going to talk about Bryan's shirt here in a little bit, but thanks for tuning in. That was episode number 15. Thanks again. Like, subscribe. We'll see you on the next episode.
Welcome to the ASOM Pod, where we talked a lot. E-com was the path that we walked a lot. But now the question is, will you subscribe or not?